What's going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to turn ice cold prospects into high paying customers. Okay. And if you are a CEO, an entrepreneur, a marketer, a CMO, a sales director, a sales rep, any of those types of people, this video is for you because it'll help you close more deals and make more money. And if you do implement this properly, you'll be able to make millions and millions of dollars. A lot of entrepreneurs and CEOs or anyone in sales or in marketing in general, they don't understand this concept, so they end up closing a lot less deals. They end up leaving a lot of money on the table because they don't understand this and they don't apply it properly. Okay, so how to turn ice cold prospects into high paying customers. The first thing we should do is define what an ice cold prospect is, right? If you're newish to marketing and advertising, cold traffic or cold prospects are basically people that don't know who you are yet. They're people that haven't seen your content. They're not referrals. They're not people that have been engaging with you on social media yet, or they haven't been to your website. They haven't heard of your name yet. Right? Maybe today's the day they see one of your ads for the first time, or today's the day that they finally heard they heard your name for the first time on a podcast, or today's the day that they got a cold email from you and your team for the first time. That's what a cold prospect is. It's the person that's furthest away from a closed deal, right? The person that takes the most effort to turn into a closed deal. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about here, right? So let me show you on the board here. This is kind of, you want to think about this image here as a room, right? So this right here, called an axis or whatever, this is a wall inside of a room, right? And this is the wall on the opposite side of the room, right? So this wall is where someone is a ice cold prospect, and this wall on the opposite side of said room is the point at which the deal is closed and you collect the money from your now paying customer. Okay, and this box here is your potential buyer, right? Your potential customer. And essentially the way you want to think about this is, let me get the handy dandy eraser out of here. You want to think of this box as as the potential customer, right? And when this person is an ice cold prospect, their back is literally against this wall, right? The wall in which indicates that they're an ice cold prospect. And in order for them to become a paying customer, a lot needs to happen between them being an ice cold prospect and them to pull out their credit card and pay you $5,000 or whatever the price point of your offer is. Okay. And so this is basically physics, right? If you in high school or if you in college, you took a physics class, then this might look a little bit familiar, right? There's a lot of, basically, to get this box all the way over to the point of becoming a closed deal and a paying customer, it takes energy, it takes work, it takes a force on the box, right? Literally, like, energy needs to be pushed. You need to push the box across the floor in order to get the box to touch the other side of the room, right? And that's kind of how you want to think of turning an ice cold prospect into a closed deal. It takes a certain amount of energy to get this potential buyer from this wall to this wall, right? And we're going to consider this room is 100 feet in distance from the first wall, from wall to wall, okay, across the room, okay? And so when you're looking at this, you as the CEO or you as the marketer or the business owner, you want to think to yourself, okay, so then what do I need to do in order to efficiently get this box, the potential buyer, from here to here, then from here to here, and from here to here, to close the deal, right? And I'm going to cover that in a second here with these energy inputs. But this really applies to you if you are experiencing a low, if you set appointments with your sales team, if you have a low call show rate, or if you have people showing up to your calls, but if you're closing at like 10%, this is the answer to your problem, right? Because if you have a low show rate to your call, to your appointment, if you have, let's say, 30% of appointments actually showing up to your Zoom calls or your phone calls, then what's likely happening is you're doing a good job of getting your potential buyer to like this point, but then nothing else has warmed up the buyer enough to get them closer to the point of sale, right? Not enough energy has been inputted into the potential buyer to make them eager enough to get on the sales call, if this makes sense, okay? So basically all I mean by energy is when you're pushing this box across this room, you're essentially giving the potential buyer, you're warming them up, you're giving them reasons why they should buy, right? And the more reasons they have to buy, and the more rapport that you build with them, and the more social proof that you show to them, the closer and closer and closer and closer they're going to get. And then if you have put enough energy, if enough energy has been inputted into the potential buyer, that potential buyer will turn into a high-paying customer, okay? Now, in order to push that box with energy, you need to understand, okay, what are the different types of energy that I can use to push that box across the room and get the sale? So here's a bunch of different examples, and you should use all of these. All of these work together to close the deal. Okay, the first thing, and these are listed kind of in a hierarchy of importance, right? The number one thing is the quality of your offer, right? And then, like, so you can think of these energy inputs as kind of like each one has a certain amount of energy that it puts on that box, right? So if we put these in order, the quality of your offer might be, 200 units of energy, right? 200 units of energy, whereas your case studies might be 150 units of energy. And the resonance of your messaging might be, 100 units of energy, right? Your how-to content might be 50 units of energy. And what I mean by this, units of energy, and so on and so forth, right? So what I mean by this is, depending on how many units of energy each one of these has, means that when you apply these energy inputs, according to how much how many units of energy that energy input holds, the more force is going to be put on this box. So if you have a really good offer, for example, since that has the most weight, so to speak, if that holds the most energy, if you have a really, really good offer, that alone is going to push your potential buyer across the quote-unquote floor much more efficiently than your how-to video content or your personal follow-ups, for example, right? Because the offer holds so much weight. The offer is the most important thing, right? So I'm going to run through these real quick. The quality of your offer is definitely the most important thing. And then some sub-energy inputs within your offer is, how big of a problem are you solving with your offer, right? That's what ultimately makes an offer really good. How big of a problem, or how much pain are you taking your prospects out of when they get the transformation that your offer provides, right? How big is the expected return on investment of your offer, right? Is there urgency involved in your offer? Is there scarcity involved in your offer, right? So urgency would be like the cost of not taking action right now, right? So for example, if I sell this Pellegrino to somebody, and urgency, for example, would be that my water has the ability to help an old lady who's choking, right? If an old lady's choking and she needs water, right? The urgency of this water and her buying this bottle of water goes up by like 1,000% because it's urgent because she's going to die if she doesn't drink the water, right? So if your offer has some urgency behind it, that increases the quality of your offer. Scarcity, if you can only take on a certain amount of clients for a real reason, like if you only have bandwidth for 20 clients at a time, or if you have one of my clients, Ricky has this. They have a high ticket service for real estate agents, and they can only service one agent in a specific zip code area or for each city, right? So only one prospect can actually become a customer in a certain area. So there's scarcity to it. Risk reversal, right? If you have a really good guarantee, that increases the quality of the offer as well. So for example, if you have a money back guarantee, then that makes the quality of the offer that much better, and that will increase the units of energy behind this energy input, right? So if all these things are really good, then your offer alone is going to push this box across, more than halfway. So it's easier to close deals. Okay, does that make sense? Another one, case studies, right? Case studies are so important. Your case studies are what basically shows proof that your offer is legit. It shows that your offer actually gets people the outcome that you're claiming it does, right? That's why I'm saying in the hierarchy of energy inputs to get the sale, this is number 2 out of all these, right? So case studies include having case study interviews recorded on Zoom and sending those to your prospects, or having them in follow-up emails so that your prospects can watch those on your landing pages, or in your email follow-ups, or even if your sales reps text these over, you can have screenshot proof of clients getting results. These things, these case studies, aka the proof that your offer works, also has a high energy, high unit of energy, basically meaning that case studies really push this box across the floor very efficiently, right? Think about if you don't have any case studies. Think about when you first started your business, when you had 0 case studies. You don't have that energy input, right? Maybe you have 1 case study. The quality of your case studies and the level of the quality of your case studies dictates how much energy you can put on that box, right? So if you have no case studies, you don't have that tool in your toolbox to push this box across the floor. So it's going to take you longer to close deals, or it's going to take you a lot more energy to push this box across the room, right? A few other ones: level of resonance with your message, meaning like basically building rapport in your video ads or in your content, how you come off in your video or when you're on video, the resonance of your ad copy with the market, your landing page copy, your headlines, right? If you, like, for example, this is not going to work for you well if you're selling to busy rich people, but you're talking to them in a not very professional way. If you're talking with them if you're taking a long time to articulate what you're trying to say to them, if you're not leading with value, if you're not being direct with busy rich people, they're not going to resonate with you, right? So that's going to hold you back, and you're not going to be able to, you're not going to have this on your side, right? You're going to be out 100 units of energy basically, and therefore it's going to take you longer to push them to the other side of the room, aka get the sale. Other things, how-to content, how well you're able to handle objections on your sales calls, and then personal touch points like selfie videos being sent by sales reps once someone books an appointment with your team, personal text messages, personal follow-ups, your automated email follow-ups in general. The more of these energy inputs you put in, the more likely the sale is going to occur, and the faster and more efficiently this box will get across the room, and the deal will be closed. Okay, so that's kind of, I hope that makes sense. Basically, if you have two different business owners and one has all of these things really well done, and another business owner or another business has, kind of like case studies, and the offer doesn't have that much urgency, and the offer's not like as good, and let's say they don't put that many personal touches into their sales process, and if they don't have that much good content online, it's going to take them, twice or three times as long to get this potential buyer, like the box, across the room, right? Because the level of energy that they're inputting to push the box, to push the buyer to close the deal, the second business owner does not have as much energy, doesn't have as much force being pushed on that box. All right. So that's kind of how this works. And then if you understand that, again, you're going to make millions of dollars with this through time if you really understand this and you start applying this, because you're going to start to think like, okay, if the case studies are so important and I can send people case studies and like prove, like you're going to be hopping on Zoom calls and documenting case studies, and you're going to be more intentional about documenting your case studies and sharing case studies and sharing social proof, and you're going to be more you're going to be able to think about, okay, how can I make more scarcity around my offer? How can I improve the ROI of my offer? What kind of guarantee can I make so that it's a no-brainer for these people to close deals with me, and pull out their credit card, right? What are some frequently asked questions or common concerns that I haven't handled yet in my social media content or in my email content that will push people across the room, right? You're going to start, if you understand this, you're going to start implementing some of this stuff at a higher level, and it's really it's a very simple concept, honestly, and so just start implementing it, and you're going to start seeing people get on calls, and they're going to be like, yeah, this makes sense, let's do it, let's go, I'm hyped, like this makes so much sense for me, I need this offer, right? Things are just going to start clicking, and it's going to be like a well-oiled machine. Last thing I wanted to touch on here is, you might be asking, what determines how much energy is needed to get the sale? And the reason I worded this like this is because the amount of energy depends on obviously it depends on the offer, but it also depends on the prospect, right? So some people are going to need 10,000 joules of energy, for example. Some people are going to need 5,000 joules of energy, right? And you can see how these start adding up, right? If we need 5,000 joules of energy, then we need X amount of energy being inputted by the offer. We need we need them to see on average X amount of case studies because of the weight of the case studies. All these things start to add up, right? So you can literally use physics for this, but some people are going to take 5,000 joules of energy to get across the room and for that deal to get closed. Some people are going to take more energy, and the things that determine that are the level of pain that the prospect is in, or the level of desire that the prospect has for that transformation, right? So if your offer solves a big problem, right, like the water example with the choking old lady, that lady's in a lot of pain. Like she's going to die if she doesn't buy the water. So that old lady who's choking, her family's going to be like, hey, someone get me water. The bottle of water costs $100. I don't care. Give me the bottle of water. Here's $100, right? That buyer doesn't take that much energy to get them to close a deal, okay? Because the prospect is in really, really bad pain, okay? The level of desire the prospect has for the transformation, right? So, for example, if you're like on the verge, like you really want to buy a car, like I just bought a car last week, and I bought the car same day because I was just like, I want a car, man. Like I want to upgrade my car like right now. Like my level of desire as the prospect was high. So it didn't require that much energy to get me to close on that deal, right? Because I was ready. I was like, I want this car, right? The last thing is, the level of energy needed to close the deal depends on the starting point of the prospect. So think about a referral versus a cold email, or someone that came in from like a cold Facebook ad or a cold email that you sent, right? Someone who's a referral isn't going to be actually starting on this wall because they're not an ice cold prospect. This referral might be thrown into the system right here, right? So since the person that referred you that deal sent you the deal, then the energy to get them to this point was already done by the person that referred you the deal. So now all you have to do is get them from here to here. So instead of 10,000 joules of energy, you might have to put in 6,000 joules of energy, right? Because the energy to get them to this part of the room was already taken care of, right? That's why it's so much easier to close a referral than it is to close someone that came in as a cold prospect. Okay, so think about this, implement it. I hope this is helpful. When I learned this was game changer for me because it shows you how important it is to create content and follow up with people contextually, and to really increase, like to make your offer really juicy, and to document your case studies and all this stuff. So if you implement this, again, this will make you millions and millions of dollars if you focus on implementing this and going very deep with this. Okay, think about, what can I do to increase the efficiency of my sales process, and what is stopping me? Like what are the energy drains that are stopping me from exerting a ton of energy, that's stopping me from exerting a ton of force onto this box, onto my potential buyers? What are those things that are holding me back, and how can I fill those holes so that instead of putting 100 units of energy every single day on my potential buyers, I'm putting like 1,500 or 1,000 units of energy, of force onto that box, so you can just close deals, okay? So hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, hit me up on Instagram at the Nick Mullen, and I'll talk to you guys soon.